my bookish friends, it is Natalie and I'm finally here with this book haul that I've been talking about forever. I've got a little bit of everything. I have YA, I have adult, I have fantasy, I have sci-fi, I have mystery thriller. I've really covered my bases. Can't wait to share it with you, so please stay tuned. So I have about 20 books I would like to share with you, which means I better get to it. The first book I would like to share is Chosen Ones by Veronica Roth. She is the one who wrote Divergent. This is her first adult book. I've been watching a lot of people doing their tier rankings of YA books, and they have been putting this Divergent book in the trash tier. That is one of my favorite books. I do not understand it, but anyway, moving on. This is her first adult book, like I said, and the premise of this is that about 15 years ago, 5 teenagers saved the world from this dark, magical creature that was called the Dark One, which fits, right? He was using his magic to basically destroy the earth and destroy cities, but these 5 chosen ones were able to defeat him, and life went on and everything was great. But then, on the 10th anniversary, there's a big celebration. One of them dies, and they discover that the Dark One's ultimate goal was much bigger than they could ever have imagined. Our main character in this is Sloane, who is one of the chosen ones. She is the one who definitely has the most PTSD from this experience, and I cannot wait. I'm not gonna lie, I've already read a little bit of it, but I can't wait to finish this and tell you whether I think it is as good as Divergent, because I don't think Divergent was trash. Moving on. All right, the next book I'm pretty excited about is the Deck of Omens. Before I tell you about it really quick, because I always forget, please hit subscribe and hit that notification bell if you would like to see future videos, since my uploading schedule, well, there is no schedule. It's about once a week when I can do it. You can also follow me on Instagram. That is down in the description. And now that we're done with that, let's move on. So the Deck of Omens is the sequel to the book last year that was very popular, The Devouring Grey. So, like I said, this is the sequel. The Devouring Grey was very much compared to Stranger Things, even though I never felt it was like Stranger Things. So in The Devouring Grey, there's a small town that has this other dimension that kind of invades, which is called the Grey, and it's very desolate, and if you end up in it, you most likely will die because there's a beast/monster that is in it killing people. But there are 4 families in this town that have the ability to kind of keep this alternate dimension and this beast kind of at bay so that people will still live in the town. Now, the first book, The Devouring Grey, we have the main character Violet, who comes to the town, realizes she's one of these 4 families, and about everything happening. And I really enjoyed The Devouring Grey. I gave it 4 stars. Like I've said with sequels, I don't like to actually tell you too much because then I would be ruining The Devouring Grey or the first book if you haven't read it yet, which I do recommend. But there were lots of twists and turns. I definitely am interested where the story is going. I thought the story was very unique, and I think this cover is very cool as well. So hopefully this will be something I jump into soon. All right, now let's go to something different, a mystery thriller called The Missing Sister. The main character in this, her name is Shayna. Her parents just recently died. She's trying to come to terms with the fact that her parents just died when she finds out that they have found the body of her estranged twin in Paris. The estranged twin's body has literally been pulled out of the Seine River, and they think it might have been done by a notorious serial killer. So Shayna heads to Paris to clean out her sister's things when she finds a cryptic note meant just for her. And when she decodes this cryptic note, it basically says, "Alive, trust no one." So that sounds like something that could be very, very cool. Definitely grabbed my interest, which is why I got it. Yeah, very excited about this mystery thriller. Coming at you with another sequel, this is Starsight, which is the sequel to Skyward. In Skyward, we meet the main character Spensa, who lives on this desolate planet that basically humans now live on. We don't live on Earth. I'm not sure why, but it's kind of dystopian in the fact that humans have had to leave Earth on ships, and then somehow they all end up having to kind of almost crash land on this planet, and most humans live underground because we are constantly being attacked by these aliens known as the Krell, and there are humans that are trained as pilots to fight them off so that we can survive, and Spensa wants to be a pilot. Unfortunately, her dad was a pilot who was a traitor, or it looks like he was a traitor, and she has to deal with all that animosity coming at her. You know, your father was a traitor. Are you going to be a traitor too? Can we trust you? And we find out there's a lot more going on than meets the eye when we get to the end of Skyward. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you what we find out, but I was pretty impressed with what kind of might be going on, and I want to find out even more. So Starsight, I do recommend, and I recommend you read Skyward first, because then I don't think this would make too much sense. Now this next book is definitely a book that I bought because I've seen it all over BookTube, and that is Foundry Side. I'm not really happy because this is not the cover I'm used to seeing, and I know that it makes absolutely no sense, but when you get a certain cover in your head that is associated with a certain book, and then you end up with a different cover, I don't know, it messes with your mind. I'm not sure if this is YA or adult, I just know that it's fantasy. And from what I understand, the main character is a girl named Sansia, who is a slave who has escaped, and then she's offered this lucrative job, I guess some kind of heist maybe, and then somehow she becomes the target of this murderous conspiracy. So many people on BookTube have put this in their wrap-ups and just said, oh, I love this book so much. I just have heard so many people talk about how great it is that I had to find out for myself. So I hope I like it as much as everybody is saying. All right, those of you who have been watching this channel for a while might have heard me say I really want to read a Stephen King book. It's pretty sad that I am this well read but have yet to read a Stephen King book, especially since I enjoy so many of the Stephen King movies. I had the book Bag of Bones, and then I found out it was one of the scariest, or some people thought it was one of the scariest, and I was like, I don't think that's where I want to start. So I decided to get The Institute. Yeah, that is one big mama of a book, but this definitely sounds like something I would be more interested in maybe. The Institute is supposed to be this sinister institution for children who have abilities like, I guess, telepathy or telekinesis or any of the powers that kids may have. And of course, the people at the Institute want to exploit these children for their powers. And somewhere on the cover or inside the cover, it says that it's supposed to be as psychically terrifying as Firestarter with the spectacular kid power of it. So yeah, can't wait to jump in. I know. This was something that won a Goodreads award. I'm not sure where in the categories, but it won a Goodreads award, so that makes me feel even better about it. Now, this next book I have not seen on any of the BookTube videos that I have watched. I've not heard of it. I just saw the synopsis on Amazon and it sounded good, and that is The Last Human. And before I tell you what it's all about, look at all of these crazy different aliens on the cover. Now, the main character's name, I'm not sure how you say it, is S-A-R-Y-A, so Sarya. Let's go with Sarya, why not? So our main character, Sarya, hides among many different aliens, knowing that she is the lone survivor of a species that has not been around for 1,000 years. Which makes me wonder how in the world she came to be if there was not another human for another 1,000 years. Like, who are her parents? Because if she had parents, they would have to, I don't know, maybe it's a cloning, maybe they pulled DNA, I don't know, because I haven't read page 1 of it, but it sounds very interesting. It says she gets thrown into an adventure where she finds out this unimaginable truth, and I'm just going to read this one line because I don't even want to paraphrase it. It says, what if humanity's extinction and her own existence are simply 2 moves in a demented cosmic game played out by vast alien intellects? So I can't wait to read this and find out what in the world. It also says up here it's a good old-fashioned space opera. So we shall see. The next book is called Perfect Ruin. It is by Lauren DeStefano, who wrote the Chemical Garden trilogy, which I absolutely loved and read many, many years ago. And I'm going to read the synopsis from the book just because it doesn't tell you too much, but it really gets to the point. It says, on interment, you can be anything you dream. A novelist or a singer, a florist or a factory worker. Your life is yours to embrace or to squander. There's only one rule. You don't approach the edge. And then when you get to the back, it says, you have heard all the warnings about the edge. We have been told its winds are a song that will hypnotize us. And by the time we awaken from that trance, it will be too late. So she lives somewhere where that's supposed to be maybe very utopian, but you don't want to go to the edge. And of course, I hope they do go to the edge so we can find out what the big deal is. All right, the next book I'm pretty excited about because it comes from my TBR service, which is a service I'm not going to tell you too much because it's not like they're paying for this video, but basically it's a service where they go into your reading history and they give you book suggestions, I think quarterly. It's not too expensive unless you actually want them to send you the books. And this was one of my suggestions they thought that I would like is Fire and Heist. And I've decided I can also use it for one of my owls because it has shape-shifting in it, because in this book we have Not werewolves, but were-dragons. Yes, people who can turn into dragons, which is pretty cool. So in this book, I've already read some of it. Our main character is Sky. She is a were-dragon who comes from a were-dragon family. They have another word for it, but I can't pronounce it. And were-dragons live among humans, and humans are aware of them, but were-dragons also have their kind of own society and class system, and they are very big on heists and stealing from one another. So by stealing and having successful heists, you move up in society. And unfortunately for Sky, her mom failed her last heist. Her mom has also disappeared. Her family is now very low on the class system. So Sky decides she's going to take things into her own hands, do her own heist. And that's all I'll tell you, but it's pretty good. I've already read about half of it, and I can't wait to use it as an owl. All right, the next book I got is Wicked. It's actually a series, and this is actually the first 2 novels. That's why it is so big. And the fact that it's purple has nothing to do with why I bought it. So in this one, our main character is Holly. Her parents are killed in a horrible accident, so she's sent to live with relatives that she doesn't know very well. And weird things start to happen to her. Like every time she whispers a wish to her cat, it seems to come true. She has these twin cousins her age named Amanda and Nicole, and they're about to be launched into a dark legacy of witches, secrets, and alliances where ancient magics yield dangerous results. So there's supposedly 4 books in this series. Like I said, this is the first 2. If they're both good, then I guess I will move on to the other 2. I don't know if you can get those 2 in a book, but we shall see. Now, I loved Every Heart a Doorway, so the sequel to that one, even though there's many books in the series, but the sequel is Down Among the Sticks and Bones. In Every Heart a Doorway, we find out there's a home for special children who have found portals, who have gone through them into other worlds, and for some reason have had to come back. I believe most of them are very sad they had to come back because they went to, I guess, better worlds or more magical worlds. I do believe there are some people who were glad to be back. Can't remember the details, but basically they're for portal children who have returned to Earth. And this particular book is about twin sisters named Jack and Jill. When I thought it was Jack and Jill, like Jack and Jill went up the hill, but no, they're twin sisters, so it's like Jack, short for Jacqueline. And at age 17, they end up in this special home, but the story is supposed to be about when they're 12 and they go through a portal. So in the first book, if I'm remembering correctly, we don't actually go through any portals, we just hear about them, but I believe in this one, we actually are going to see what's on the other side or what one of these magical worlds might be like. So that should be exciting. I might actually use this for one of my owls, the potions. They had to be a book that was 150 pages or less, because it was like a shrinking solution or a shrinking potion. I think this is more than 150 pages, but it's pretty small, so, you know, I think that would count. All right, next we have Magic Bites. And because I can't paraphrase this very well, once again, I'm going to just read a little bit from the back. It said, listen carefully because this is confusing. When the magic is up, rogue mages cast their spells and monsters appear, while guns fail to fire and cars refuse to start. Yes, that just happened. But then technology returns and the magic fades as unpredictably as it arose, leaving all kinds of paranormal problems in the wake. So basically, yes, I'm covering up this big atrocity. Basically, in this book, it's kind of a battle between magic and technology, and I guess one cannot exist when the other one is there. So you're either things are magic or they're technology, and in this book, they're going back and forth, which I'm sure is crazy, and I hope it's crazy in a good way and makes for a good story because this is a series. I'm pretty sure it's a YA series because she looks pretty young. Now, the next book I could probably also use for that shrinking potion because, wow, this is a little bitty book. It's called the Westin Game. No, I did not know it was going to be this little when I ordered it. It has a little synopsis on the back. It says, a bizarre chain of events begin when 16 unlikely people gather for the reading of Samuel Westing's will. And though no one knows why the eccentric game-loving millionaire has chosen a virtual stranger and a possible murderer to inherit his vast fortune, one thing's for sure. Sam Westing may be dead, but that won't keep him from playing just one last game, which kind of has a little bit of a Ready Player One feel, probably not as detailed since this is such a small little book, but definitely something you could have on the go. Not that you need it in quarantine, but if life ever resumes, it's a very good book on the go, very little, very convenient, and I probably could read it probably in an hour or 2. All right, we have 5 books to go. These next 2 are from the Book of the Month Club. I got The Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager. I have never read Riley Sager, but oh my gosh, I've heard if you love mystery thrillers, which I do, that this is an author that is a must. So in this story, our main character is Emma, and when she was younger, she went to a camp, but because she showed up late, she ended up being put in a cabin with a bunch of older girls. And one night, the older girls decide to go out. Like I said, she's not really a part of their group because she's so young, so she stays behind. They leave to do God knows what, and they do not return, and they're presumed dead, and the camp closes down. In present day, Emma is an artist, and she can't help but paint these girls and images of trees and the campsite because, you know, this really haunts her as it would. But the lady who owns the camp or owns the campground decides that she's going to reopen the camp, and she comes to Emma and says, hey, since you're this great artist, why don't you come be the art instructor? And Emma, because she's never had closure and this has just haunted her, decides I'm going to go back because I'm hoping maybe I can get some answers so I can get some kind of closure. So that sounds really good. And I have started reading some of it, maybe 1/4 of it, and so far I really like it. So if Riley Sager is as good as everyone is saying, then I will definitely go get some of the other books I've been hearing about. The other book of the month I got is The Guest List, another mystery thriller. Now this is by Lucy Foley. I'm not really familiar with this author. So there's a wedding on a remote island, one of those destination weddings, and it's a TV star marrying a magazine publisher. And it's supposed to be one of those very fancy destination weddings. But some bad weather comes through, which kind of makes everybody have to be stuck on this remote island, which at first they don't mind because they're partying and they're having fun. But it says right here on the back, an exclusive wedding on a remote Irish island. The bride, the +1, the best man, the wedding planner, the bridesmaid, they all have a secret, they all have a motive, but only one is a murderer. So somebody's going to end up dead. So that sounds really exciting. Kind of sounds very Agatha Christie. I want to see where this goes. All right, the next book is Sawkill Girls. And supposedly in this book we have 3 main characters. We have Marion, who is the new girl, Zoe, who is the pariah, and Val, who is supposedly the queen bee. This also takes place on some island. The island is called Sawkill Rock, and supposedly for decades, girls have been disappearing. But no one has dared fight until now. I don't know what is killing the girls. I don't know if this is a mystery thriller, because I know Claire Legrand, the author, has written a lot of fantasy, so I don't know if there's a magical element to why all these girls have been disappearing for decades. But I have heard on good authority that this is a good book, and I definitely want to give it a try. All right, we're down to 2 books. The next one is The Kingdom. Oh, I forgot to tell you guys also, I started a new video series called the Emma Roberts Book Club Review. I'm still going to be doing the Reese Witherspoon Book Club Review, but I decided to jump into yet another celebrity book club since I got so many great reads last year out of the Reese Witherspoon one. So that's the last video I did. I'll put it up in the cards, but let's move on to this book, The Kingdom. And I've heard this is very similar to Westworld. If you don't know what Westworld is, that's a TV series where people can go to this kind of, I guess you could call it a park, but it looks like the Wild Wild West, and there's all these robots that look like people who act like characters, and you can interact with them if you want to have a Wild West experience. Only difference is this is if you would like to have like a fantasy experience and like ride on a dragon and, you know, be a princess. In fact, our main character is one of the I'm assuming princess robots that works in this park, who somehow gets framed for murder. And that sounded so exciting. This has been on my mental TBR. I am so glad it is now on my physical TBR. And last but not least, well, maybe least, I always say that this author is a guilty pleasure. It's not great literature. It's a YA mystery that's just kind of fun and not high quality, but I enjoy it, so don't judge me. And that is The Twin by Natasha Preston. So from what I've heard, this is kind of like The Parent Trap gone wrong, because we have a set of twins named Ivy and Iris who their parents did what the Parent Trap thing. The mother took one twin and the father took the other. So the mother dies, and Iris, who is with the mother, now has to go live with Ivy and her dad. And Ivy, I'm pretty sure, is the one who's going to be, it's told in first person, and she's narrating the story. And at first, you know, Iris is very distraught, as one would be, and she's trying to comfort her and say, hey, whatever is mine is yours, you know, come hang out with my friends, la da 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 da. And then at some point, Iris, I think, takes it a little too far, becomes a little bit too engrossed with her friends, steals her boyfriend, I believe, and just gets really creepy. So Natasha Preston books are notoriously creepy and fun guilty pleasures, and I'm sure that's what this is, and I'm sure I'll enjoy it. I decided I'm going to participate in the Medieval-a-thon that's run by Holly Hart's Books. That will probably be coming up very soon because it's a May readathon. I also probably have a couple LitJoy boxes I probably will open in front of you guys. I haven't decided. I also have a wrap-up. I've got a lot of videos coming. I've really got to start filming more. So thank you so much for watching the haul. I hope everyone is staying safe and staying sane, and I will see you guys later. Bye-bye.